I feel like I've been too defensive with my movie reviews recently and just my movie videos in general because I tend to get up in arms about the responses to a film that I really liked or that I didn't like even that conflict with mine. And I go, it's now my job to defend the movie from those criticisms or to refute the praises of said movie. And I don't think that's the right thing, the right way to approach things. I think I've been too obsessed with other people's reactions to the film that I haven't had time to express my unfiltered thoughts as of late. And maybe what you like is me defending movies. Maybe that's why people like this channel. But I think maybe that things will do better if I decide to go for a more unfiltered approach where I just talk about what I thought of the movie and my personal thoughts and pay mostly no mind to what everyone else is saying, because I think that's more genuine. So that's what I'm going to try to do here in my Black Panther video, which will have spoilers, by the way. I went into this movie very skeptical, just like I was with Wonder Woman, because, just like with Wonder Woman, the praise for the movie is, out of this world. It's 97 or 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, phenomenal reviews, just like Wonder Woman. And I was like, this is going to be the same thing. It's going to be a fine movie, probably an okay MCU movie, maybe one of the better ones. But it will just have gotten that praise because of the empowerment and the political angle. Which is obviously fine, I'm really glad about the empowerment, and we're going to talk about that later. And, it's really cool that people are seeing themselves represented. But, just like with Wonder Woman, people were like, deserves Best Picture. It's the best superhero movie ever made simply because of that angle, when in fact it was a fine film. It was, and in some cases, very subpar. I will destroy you. So that's what I went into with Black Panther, fearing that. I was like, this is going to be a fine movie, probably, that gets all this accolades just because of that, But... And people will agree with it. People will praise the movie because they agree with the message. It's like Christians going to a Christian film where they go, "This movie was the greatest thing I've ever seen," because they agreed with the message, and that's all. Not because of the actual filmmaking or the complexity of the message. And don't get me wrong, I love a message in a movie, and I am beyond happy when they're saying something that I believe is true and they're broadcasting that to the world. And I think there is some filmmaking merit in how you convey that message. But with something like Wonder Woman, they were just like, empowerment, here you go. And you love women, so there you go. It's a great movie. Just like with Ghostbusters 2016. If you don't like this movie, you hate women. So that's enough preface. That's what I went into the movie thinking, right? But I am so very happy to report that Black Panther is not that at all. It is out of this world in every regard, and I absolutely adored it. The political themes in this movie are so well blended into the narrative. They are not ham-fisted. They do not tell you how to think. This is not SJW propaganda, as some would say. They just feel authentic and genuine to the story being told, and they are very, very nuanced and full of thought-provoking lines that really make you go, man, there's more to this story than meets the eye. It is not just, look, it's women. See, women are great, or in this respect, Black people are great. African culture is amazing. It's not that. And to be fair, women are great. African culture is amazing, and so it'd be fine to have that stuff. And there is plenty of that here, but it's so much more. So let's get into this, right? One of the things that I've seen a lot of people do when reviewing this movie is try to put the political element aside. They've been like, they've said, I'm just going to judge this as a film, and that means I have to put all my politics aside and ignore the message of the movie, which involves political commentary. I need to put all of that aside and just judge it as another superhero movie. But I don't think I agree with that logic at all, because I think the political commentary in this movie is like 60% of why it's so great. And that's not to say, as I said before, that I agree with the message and so I think this is a great movie. It's to say that the political commentary here is part of the story and it's what makes it so compelling. So the reviews that I've seen where people go, it was just another Marvel movie and the fight scenes kind of sucked. I feel like those reviews are coming from a place, not all of them obviously, but some of them I've read have come from a place of, let's put the political commentary aside and just judge the superhero action elements of this movie. And I'm like, no, man, the political commentary is so huge in this movie. Include that stuff in your review. It's relevant. So that's, I want to address that largely in this video. And, you know, I mean, when I talk about social commentary or political commentary in the film, if you haven't seen it, which go see it, it's going to make so much money this weekend. It probably already has. And I mean, this is a spoiler review. So, but when I talk about the stuff in this video, it's not just like commentary on Black people should be accepted. It's not commentary on we should accept all tribes, you know, like really generic, you know, empowerment type stuff. It is so much more than that. So there are so many themes of not just racism and culture, but isolationism, healing the sins of the past, and how we address the sins of our fathers and the people that came before us, embracing everyone as one tribe, honoring the past and tradition, but embracing the future and progress. And even more, which I'm going to get into. And even after seeing it twice, which I'm going to see it again soon, I think, I still feel like there's more to dissect in the narrative that is relevant and that isn't shallow at all. I'm, in general, a big proponent of not taking MCU movies too seriously, or superhero movies in general too seriously. You know, when people say that Marvel movies deserve Oscars or any superhero movies deserve Oscars, I'm always like, no, guys, they're just dumb superhero movies. And now, don't get me wrong, I think most of Marvel's movies are well-executed dumb blockbuster superhero movies, but they're just that. And people don't need to put so much weight on them and so much self-importance, you know, they're just superhero movies. But this is the one case where when people say in reviews, and again, now I'm going back to when people say things and I'm defending, but when people say in their reviews that, like, this movie's just another dumb MCU movie, I feel like that is so degrading of its quality to lump it in with something like Ant-Man and Doctor Strange and Thor. Like, this is on such an entirely different planet than those movies, from a writing perspective, from an acting perspective, from a commentary perspective, that it's the one film, the one MCU movie, other than maybe Winter Soldier, that I go, no, it's not a dumb Marvel movie. It's more than that. And the other thing that I liked about it is that it's not a pandering MCU movie. It does not pander to fans. You know, some people might say, you just like this. I mean, with all other Marvel movies, there is always going to be that person who says, you just liked this because you love all Marvel movies. But this movie is not, it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie, and it doesn't feel pandering to Marvel fans at all. When the Marvel Studios logo came up in the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a Marvel movie. I forgot about that. You know, and it still does fall into plenty of the traps that Marvel movies do, and it's got a CGI-heavy battle in the third act. But it does, for the most part, feel like a real film and not a Marvel film. And there are even the easy shots that they could have pandered to fans. Like Captain America's shield is made of vibranium. And vibranium is a heavy part of this movie, obviously. And so I fully, 100% expected and would have been fine with one character saying, did you know Captain America's shield is made of vibranium? You know, because that's a tie-in to the rest of the MCU that you would think they would make a big deal out of, but no one says it. And I was like, oh, wow, this movie really does stand on its own. And so, there's no scene like in Ant-Man where he goes and fights Falcon at the Avengers headquarters just to make people go, it's Falcon, it's the Avengers logo, you know. This is really the vision that Ryan Coogler wanted to make, and only that. And I loved that about it. I think this movie has a lot to do with inaction, and the themes that circle around it all do a really good job of tying into each other. One of the things that the movie features heavily is the idea of honoring tradition and the past, but also embracing the future and progress, specifically in Wakanda, because that's the whole kind of conceit of their nation. And, kind of what makes them interesting is the balance between the past and the future, where they're this insanely technologically advanced nation, but they still choose their leader through a barbaric challenge on a waterfall, which I've heard some people complain about. But to me, that's the whole concept of Wakanda in general. What makes them interesting is them trying to find that balance and not always finding what makes it a good balance. And on that note, on the note of the past and the future, I think another heavy message in this movie is the idea of healing the sins of the past and looking back at the mistakes you've made in the past, or the mistakes that your fathers or ancestors have made, and trying to make them right anyway. Obviously we're in spoilers. The whole reveal that T'Challa's father, killed his brother, and they left the child, is so heartbreaking, and it's this critical failure in his father's past. Isn't it interesting that 3 Marvel movies in recent memory have had a father who has done bad things in the past, with Odin, Ego, and now T'Chaka? But anyway, so that idea is very interesting to me, because so many people would say, well, it wasn't your fault. It was, your father did that. You don't have to make things right. But this movie is about how even when we didn't cause something, sometimes it is our job, when the people that came before us caused it, to make things right. And T'Challa has to figure out how to stop the monster that his father essentially created, and that Wakanda has sort of fostered by maintaining their isolationism. And in the end, he ends up, setting up these outreach centers to try to strike this balance and make amends for the future. And I thought that was so relevant to so many things today, especially regarding race and everything, where, our white fathers in the past have done quite a few bad things and enslaved races and, done all kinds of unspeakable horrors to minorities and other people. And now whites today are like, that's not my problem. I wasn't responsible. What, do you want me to apologize for that? That was the people who came before me, But this movie is about how even when you didn't do it, sometimes you need to step up as a leader. If you want to be a noble man like T'Challa or woman, then you need to step up and help make amends anyway, even when you didn't cause it. And I thought that was beautiful. And in general, the whole relationship with Eric Killmonger Stevens and T'Challa, I thought was so heart-wrenching, so brutal, so beautiful. People aren't joking when they say he's one of the best comic book movies since The Joker. I heard like Casey Neistat say that in his video, and I was like, oh my gosh, this movie's going to be so overinflated. It's going to be Wonder Woman all over again, like I said. But then they were right. He is so good. Michael B. Jordan is amazing. And everything he says about the backstory of the character was just heart-wrenching. The bit where he says, my dad said that Wakanda has the most beautiful sunsets, and then when he left, no one believed him about Wakanda. Little kid from Oakland grew up believing in fairy tales. I was like, oh, man. And there's so much of that in this movie, where they don't stop for a joke. They don't break any of the emotional moments. They really let the emotion sink in. And I adored that aspect of it. So real quick, I realized in editing this video that I talk a lot in the video about the things that I loved and all the themes and complex ideas and compelling characters, but I don't really address that many of them specifically. So I wanted to bring forward a little bit more food for thought, a few more specific ideas of things that I really enjoyed. One of those things was the way that Michael B. Jordan's character, Eric Killmonger, appeals to these primal instinctual urges that the people of Wakanda have, that they've had for a while now, that have been building inside of them, and gets them to fight to his own advantage. He essentially sparks a civil war in Wakanda. Some might say it feels like how America is now, by appealing to these things that many of the people have wanted for a while, like wanting to use their technology to dominate the world or to help it. Daniel Kaluuya's character shows throughout the whole movie that he is somewhat vengeful and wants justice. Not vengeful, but he wants justice for Claw's character. And Michael B. Jordan gives him just that. And so Michael B. Jordan, gives everyone this justice that they've wanted for so long, and appeals to their anger and their raw emotions, and gets that to his advantage and gets them to fight each other to his advantage. In that respect. And so I thought that was a brilliant thing. I also loved that Eric only embraces tradition when it is appealing to him and when it helps his cause. He embraces tradition. Sometimes he wears the mask because he thinks it's cool. He's got like the battle tattoo scars, I don't know what they're called, on his chest. And more importantly, he participates in the challenge to fight T'Challa for the throne. But once he beats T'Challa, even though he doesn't really beat him because T'Challa lives, when T'Challa comes back and is like, the challenge isn't over, we still need to finish this, he's like, sorry, cousin, I'm done. I'm done with this challenge. I'm king now. We're not doing that again. And so he only embraces tradition when it benefits him. And once it does, out the window. One of the other things that I really enjoyed was the way that Wakanda starts out as a nation that is very isolationist. It's very them-centric. We have the answers. We know all the technology. Our way is the best way. Our traditions are the best ones. But over the course of the movie, T'Challa and some of the other citizens of Wakanda start to realize that there are other ways to do things that they can learn how to do. One of the key scenes that I loved was the fact that they have their way of burying the king and giving them the herb, for them to go to the ancestral plane or to bring them to life or whatever, and they bury them in dirt. But when T'Challa is saved by the Jabari tribe, the rogue tribe, he's buried in snow. And his mother and sister come, and they're like, why is he buried in snow? You're going to freeze him to death. But they're like, no, this is the only way. And it turns out that their way actually was just as good, or maybe even better, and actually brought T'Challa back to life using snow. Same goes for the way that they embrace Martin Freeman's character and actually have him basically save the vibranium or keep it from going to outside hands. They embrace the fact that he is a pilot and has that expertise, and he is capable of doing that. So I thought that was a really interesting touch. The character writing and drama in general here is what makes the movie so great, for me at least, and that's because, like I said, they let the emotion sink in and don't kill anything with a joke. The tone is executed perfectly, where, unlike with Ragnarok or something, all the emotional beats are played perfectly, and even more than that, you get plenty of time to live with these characters, right? Unlike with Ragnarok, I don't know why I'm comparing the two, because they're so different, but this is so much better than Ragnarok, is kind of my point. But like when Thor Ragnarok ended, I was like, I feel like that was a dream. I haven't been anywhere with these characters. It was like 2 hours, and yet I feel like nothing happened. But with this movie, it feels so much longer in a good way. It feels more like a journey. Like when it ended, I was like, I have truly been on an adventure, on an emotional roller coaster with the characters. It's not something where it was just a bunch of mindless action and then it ended. It's like Drew is calling. Hey, you're in a video right now, Hitchcock. Oh, good. What did you think of Black Panther?
It's real nice. It's a jolly old time.
Yeah, there you go. But anyway, so what I loved about it was that it felt like you were on a journey with these characters. It wasn't a dream like Justice League, where when I feel like I haven't even seen Justice League. I've seen it twice, but I feel like I haven't even seen it yet because nothing happened and I didn't bond with the characters throughout the entire 2 hour runtime at all. But no, yeah, like from a filmmaking perspective, I thought it was pretty terrific. There are undoubtedly some flaws that people have pointed out, and they are right to point them out. But the good things, I think, are the music is so great. It is a perfect blend of the African traditional drums and chanting and all these things I don't even know the words for, and then modern hip-hop and everything. And everybody's got a theme, and Eric Killmonger's theme is more American than T'Challa's, which is his, like, people chanting his name is his theme, which is so cool for a superhero theme. So the music was really well done. That was Ludwig Göransson who did the music for Creed, which has a phenomenal soundtrack as well. As I said, the tone is great. This movie feels so epic and so much more important, but in a good way, than any other MCU movie in quite some time. You know, it was just so refreshing to see a movie where the character wasn't a witty, spitfire, I'm gonna do quips, type thing. Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, Spider-Man, even Thor now is like that. Peter Quill. It was so refreshing to see someone who was just a, solemn, stoic hero with a good heart. But, the MCU has made their mark by making movies that don't take themselves too seriously, and for the most part, that's worked really well for them. But here, I was just refreshed to see something where it did take itself more seriously, and where it did feel Shakespearean and epic and dramatic and just big and larger than life. And I think it works really well for the most part. And they incorporate the humor when it's necessary, and it lands, except for the "what are those" joke, which has been talked about enough. But so just like with Winter Soldier, like the balance between the humor and the true drama and tragedy and epicness, not from a sense of like awesome, cool, rad epicness, but like epicness as in grand scale, all of that is balanced so well. The performances, as we've talked about, are all very stellar. I thought Michael B. Jordan was the highlight. Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman are a lot of fun, the two white dudes. Chadwick Boseman is a good lead. Lupita Nyong'o is great. Whoever plays the bald lady, Okoye, was really good. The cast was all really likable, and I bonded with almost all of them almost instantly. The world building on Wakanda was so good that it really, as I said before, feels like a self-sustaining universe that doesn't need the rest of the MCU to be entertaining. And almost by the time the credits rolled, I was like, I don't even know if I want to see these people in Infinity War, because I want them to be the whole world. Like, to see them as like a tiny puzzle piece in Infinity War, just a tiny part of the equation, is like, oh man, it feels degrading of what we've been through together. But no, it's still exciting to see it in Infinity War, because that's what comic book universes are about, is about having all these different elements that each have their own side of the story coming together and clashing. But yeah, so the world building was so great that, like, I cared more about Wakanda after one movie than I did about Asgard after 3 movies. Like, it really does feel like a real location for the most part. The stuff that I see people kind of complaining about the most about the film, from a filmmaking perspective, are the action scenes and the CGI. And I will say definitely that those are the weakest elements of the film. The action scenes are fine. There are some good ones. The better action scenes are the ones where Ryan Coogler sort of embraces his Creed side and things feel more down to earth and gritty. Like the challenges on the waterfall I thought were both really good, and the casino scene that's one take, which feels very Creed, is well done. But the CGI kind of spectacle stuff is not nailed very well. And the CGI is often very weak. That is indisputable. It's pretty bad sometimes. Like Justice League levels of bad in areas, except there's no CGI lip removal. But I felt like, to me, that even with those weaknesses, like, especially in the third act, which has plenty of, like, kind of mind-numbing CGI action, as a hipster would say, I was so invested in the story and the characters and the battle in general, like the Civil War clash between the peoples, had so much more going on from a subtextual level behind the scenes with the drama between the characters and the commentary and the themes of the movie that I enjoyed it anyway because it felt like it was more than just a silly action scene. You know, if the action was all it had to offer, I'd be like, well, that wasn't enough. That was lame, you know? But beyond the action, there was this other level of message and of the themes of the movie that really resonated with me. And so I thought the action worked because of that, because it was more than just action. I mean, maybe my satisfaction with the movie comes because I wasn't really expecting like some sort of cool blockbuster. Like, I think a lot of people just expected this to be a movie of Black Panther doing what he does in Civil War, which is look cool and kind of be a badass, you know? But that's not what I was expecting. I wasn't like, I just want a cool superhero movie. I expected something that would be more Ryan Coogler's style, which is drama and great character writing and maybe some political commentary involved. And I got that. And that was what was most important to me. And so to me, even though the action scenes are serviceable to weak at times, well, some of them are really good. So great to serviceable to weak at times. Personally, it didn't matter because there was so much more going on and I enjoyed it on every other level. So yeah, I think I had different expectations. So that's pretty much it. I don't know how long I've rambled here. I've had to cut a few times, so it might be like a 30-minute video, who's to say. But like, I do think that this is one of the most important superhero movies to come out. And that's such a cliche line. You know, it's what people said about Wonder Woman that I hated. And so now I'm becoming the thing that I, you know, feared so much. But I really do think, I mean, I think from a commentary level, it is up there with like The Dark Knight as brilliant. And I think the things that people don't like are that it doesn't, the surface level superhero fun blockbuster things aren't as good as you would hope for. But to me, the deeper commentary and themes and character writing and drama and Ryan Coogler's direction more than made up for that. Definitely go and see it. I don't know how much I've really spoiled in this review if you hadn't seen it yet. But yeah, like, and even on, if you have seen it already, I felt like on the second watch, it was so much richer. Like, I really enjoyed it the first time, but the second time I was like, oh, there's so much to take in here. That goes beyond just simple throwaway lines, you know, and themes that tie back to each other. And this all sounds so pretentious, and I feel like I've tackled some of the themes, but others I haven't really talked about. But I'd love to continue this conversation in the comments or on Twitter or everything, because I think there's a lot to dissect. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I don't know if these unscripted ramble movie review videos are going to be like a normal thing. I doubt it, but with this movie in particular, I wanted to get that out there and try something in that respect. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. My Patreon is linked. I just pronounced that weird. Patreon is linked in the comments below if you want to go support that. And yeah, let me know what you think of Black Panther in the comments and all that stuff that people tell their subscribers to do. All right, bye guys. The Black Panther lives.